In just 21 days, the decades-old alliance between the United States and Europe experienced an unprecedented upheaval. This is the story of how a contentious Oval Office meeting and shifting American policies have fundamentally changed the geopolitical landscape. The first signs of trouble emerged in mid-February at the Munich Security Conference. US Vice President J.D. Vance delivered a keynote address that stunned European allies. Rather than reaffirming transatlantic unity, Vance criticized European defense spending and suggested the continent's problems were of their own making. Behind the scenes, tense negotiations between American officials and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky over a minerals deal were already deteriorating. The day after the Munich conference, European leaders scrambled to meet in Paris at the Élysée Palace. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer had just proposed sending peacekeepers to Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron hosted what was described as an informal meeting of European leaders, but Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni arrived late, concerned the gathering appeared too anti-Trump. As they met, Trump reached out to Macron in what was described as a friendly call, one of many impromptu communications between the two leaders. The next day brought another shock. American and Russian officials met in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, for a 4.5-hour meeting to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. But Ukraine wasn't invited, breaking with the previous US administration's promise of nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. When Zelensky criticized his exclusion, Trump responded from Mar-a-Lago with a statement that stunned many. He blamed Ukraine for starting the war, contradicting the widely documented fact that Russia launched a full-scale invasion in February 2022. With tensions rising, US envoy Keith Kellogg traveled to Kyiv, attempting to secure a minerals deal that would give America access to Ukraine's rare earth deposits. The meetings reportedly deteriorated quickly. Meanwhile, Zelensky's top advisor established a separate communication channel with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, bypassing Kellogg in hopes of securing a direct meeting with President Trump. As these diplomatic chess moves played out, another dramatic moment unfolded at the United Nations. The US and Ukraine put forward competing resolutions marking the third anniversary of Russia's invasion. In a stunning reversal, the United States voted against Ukraine's resolution, joining Russia, North Korea, and Israel in opposition. America had switched sides against its longtime European allies. On February 24th, the exact anniversary of Russia's invasion, French President Macron arrived at the White House. During 30 minutes of on-camera conversation, tensions emerged when Trump falsely claimed Europe had only loaned money to Ukraine. Macron gently corrected him, placing his hand on Trump's arm and stating, "We paid 60% of the total effort. We provided real money, to be clear." Trump's response, "If you believe that, it's okay with me." British Prime Minister Keir Starmer prepared meticulously for his White House visit, even receiving specific instructions about physical gestures, according to sources close to him. The strategic planning paid off. Starmer brought a personal letter from King Charles, inviting Trump for a state visit, making him the only modern US president to receive two such invitations from a British monarch. The visit was widely considered a diplomatic success. Then came the moment that would dramatically accelerate the deterioration of relations. On February 28th, Zelensky arrived at the White House wearing his trademark military attire, despite warnings from US officials that the informal dress could be perceived as disrespectful. The meeting quickly devolved on camera. When Vice President Vance stressed the need for diplomacy, Zelensky challenged him. "What kind of diplomacy are you talking about, JD?" Vance responded sharply, "I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country." Trump then accused Zelensky of gambling with World War III and being disrespectful before abruptly ending the meeting. The fallout was immediate. European leaders quickly rallied around Zelensky, with Macron responding directly to Trump's accusation by stating it was Putin who gambled with World War III. EU leaders issued statements of support one by one, which Zelensky retweeted over the next 15 hours. Meanwhile, Senator Lindsey Graham once a strong Ukraine supporter, called the meeting a disaster and suggested Zelensky needed to resign or change. By March 3rd, the consequences became tangible. The Trump administration ordered a freeze on military aid to Ukraine. 2 days later, intelligence sharing was cut off, eliminating critical warnings about Russian missile launches and troop movements. The Kremlin, through spokesman Dmitry Peskov, called the US decision probably the best contribution to the cause of peace. The response from Europe was swift and historic. Macron, in a grave national address, made an unprecedented offer to extend France's nuclear umbrella to European allies, protection traditionally provided by the United States. Russia has become a threat for France and Europe, he declared, adding that to watch and do nothing would be madness. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk went further, suggesting Poland should reach for opportunities related to nuclear weapons. With American intelligence no longer flowing to Ukraine, Russia launched its largest attack in months. 67 missiles and 194 drones targeting Ukrainian energy infrastructure. Ukraine reported downing only about half of the incoming explosives. Trump responded by threatening new sanctions on Russia for pounding Ukraine on the battlefield and urged both sides to get to the table right now before it is too late. Neither side responded publicly. In just 3 weeks, the fundamental security architecture that has undergirded European peace for 75 years underwent a seismic shift. As European nations consider nuclear options and massive increases in defense spending, and as Ukraine faces battlefield setbacks without full American support, the geopolitical landscape has been redrawn. What comes next remains uncertain, but the alliance that defined the post-World War II era appears to have entered a new and unpredictable chapter. Please like the video, subscribe and share with friends who need to know about